We are live. Welcome to the Creativity Freedom Forum or Creative Freedom Forum. My name's Mio. I'll be your slightly odd host for the next 20 to 30 minutes. So hopefully you can see this page. All you need to do to get here is go to a link that I sent you in your email and hit the play button or hit the button on the thingamajang. All right. Anyway, if you're seeing this, then you've already done that and you know what's going on. All right. Awesome. Welcome. So this is the fourth hangout in this series of hangouts that I've been doing called Creative Freedom Forum. And this one, I often do this first up so that people get an idea of what creative mindset really means. But also there's lots of other cool stuff to share with people before they get to this. So this is going to be the last one in this series. And at the end of this hangout, I'm going to share with you a way that you can go deeper with this info if you're interested, if this is something that you think's cool and that can help you. Normally I would tell you all about who I am and what I've done, but if you've watched any of the videos before this one, you already know that I'm a singer-songwriter. I've done heaps of stuff, struggled with my creative practice, and now my creative practice kicks ass. And I'm really prolific and productive and connected to my role as an artist and the happiest I've ever been with my creative work. So that's my story in a nutshell. And I probably should have just told that story the last couple of videos, but anyway, that's it there. I want to welcome you to this hangout. I want to thank you for coming and sharing some of your time with me. Time is so precious, so valuable. And so I totally value your time in being here. So having said that, that means I want to make this worth your while for being here. I want to deliver as much value to you as I can in this hangout. Cool. So without further ado, let's just swing into this. Normally I kind of carry on for a bit in the beginning to let people kind of arrive in the chat and do their thing. But I don't think I'm going to do that this time, because if you wanted to learn about this stuff, then you'd probably be here on time. So at the moment, I'm just kind of clicking around and checking that everything's kind of live and working. I believe it all is. So let me just kind of close a couple of things and then we can just kick into this thing. Okay, I'm just going to check the chat box on the side. So if you can see the chat box on the side, I would love you to say hi to me. So just say hi in that chat box. I'm just going to say hi to you right now. Yeah, so if you can see the chat box on the side, jump in there and just say hi. You can log in really easily through like using Facebook and other things, or you can log in using the Chatwing login, but I think you have to make a Chatwing login to do that. But anyway, if you are on this page and you can hear me and see me, I would love for you to just type something in there. Just say hi or tell me your name and what you do, and maybe, you know, where you're from, where you're watching this hangout from. And also any questions as they come up as I'm talking about this, and I'll answer them at the end. All right. Cool. I think that's all that. So creativity mindset plus mastery. Why you'd want to master a thing like that. This is the reason I even started kind of sharing this info with people, because when I found out about this concept and this topic, it blew my mind. And since I've been sharing it with people, it's been blowing their minds too. And it's a thing that's really helped transform my creative practice. Like I said, I used to struggle a lot with my creative practice, and basically this one formula, I'm gonna share with you, top secret formula that totally changed my creative practice. I would say it's the thing that changed my creative practice more than anything else. Once I really got this concept and then started to apply it in my practice, it's the thing that was that massive mind shift that really helped me be really prolific and write heaps more songs and make sure I made my creative work a priority, and work out how to plan and do it all and overcome fear and sort out the inner critic. I think it all really stemmed from this one thing. Excuse me. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get in right now and explain it, and then we'll kind of debrief on it later, and I'll give you some kind of tools you can start to implement straight away. All right. So let me just have a squeezeroo here. Okay. So this is it. Are you ready? I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to reveal it nice and slowly. So this is on its side. How can I do this? Can I do this some sneaky way? Here we go. Okay. T. So this stands for thoughts, right? T leads to F. F stands for feelings. So thoughts, feelings. So thoughts lead to feelings. That will lead to action. So taking some type of action. Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to action. And this will equal your results, right? So maybe you should write these down on a bit of paper in front of you, just like this. You can kind of copy me as I fill this form out. So thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results, right? It seems pretty straightforward. It seems like common sense. But there's one thing about common sense, that sometimes it's common sense, but it's not common practice, right? We don't implement concepts in our world. One other favorite phrase of mine is, many people know what to do, but not many people do what they know, right? So that's the difference between kind of intellectually understanding something and then really imbuing your life with a principle. So that's what I did with this, right? So I'm going to go in and kind of color this in and explain more about it. So try and keep up. So thoughts lead to feelings, lead to action, lead to results. So one thing that's really important is that, I'm going to color this in. Whoop. Okay. So this is your inner world. That's what that stands for. Inner world. So thoughts and feelings are part of your inner world, right? So it's all happening in here and in your body, in your physiology. And then here we have your outer world. So that is the physical realm where, you know, there's this drink bottle and this paper and this computer and you and me. That's the outer world, right? So the physical manifestation of the universe, if you want to say it like that. And then from there are your results. So your results are very often something in the physical world, especially if you have some type of goal like finishing a painting, right? So I might just use that as the example as we go through this. So a painting, a completed painting, that's the result, right? So the way this works is that creatives, artists, they hang out here. They hang out in thoughts and feelings land. And that's where they're supposed to be. That's what we do. We think about things. We conceptualize. We philosophize. We discuss. We have ideas. And then the feeling part, you know, we get passionate about those ideas and many artists are very emotional creatures, and we think and feel about the world. That's actually the role of the artist, is to feel into the world, think about it, try to understand it, and then move to action, create work in the outer world so that we can express those ideas with other people and they can engage with that stuff, right? So that's when we come to action. Now, this is where many artists really struggle, is going from crossing this line here, going from thoughts, feelings over to action. So you may know someone that has trouble going from thoughts, feelings to action. You may know that person quite intimately. That person may be sitting in your chair right now. This is very common. This is very common. So, it may be common in your experience. I know it definitely was in my experience, that I had lots of ideas and I wanted to do lots of things, but there was not lots of action going on. So when I came across this formula, do I even still have it on my wall? No, it's not on my wall anymore. It is around. It is around here. I keep it close to hand. When I worked this out, I drew up a bit of paper just like this, and I wrote thoughts lead to feelings. Much smaller than that. It was like thoughts lead to feelings, and then action took up the entire page from top to bottom, like this massive A equals results. And I started to focus a lot of my activity on taking action. A lot of my energy went into taking action, because there was lots of thoughts and feelings and ideas, but not enough action. And I cannot emphasize this enough, that your energy, your creative energy, if you're an artist and a creative person, the thoughts and the feeling stuff comes pretty naturally. And if you think it doesn't, I would just quickly let you know that you should give yourself more credit, because if you're a creative person, if you're even on this hangout, you're a creative person and you probably don't have too many problems being creative. You may not think you are if you compare yourself to other people, but who you imagine are more creative than you. But if you compare yourself maybe to the average person walking around in the street, you are probably at least 100 times more creative and imaginative than most people. So remember that part. So that's usually not an issue, but action, taking action, is where the wheels fall off the cart very often. So what I started to do when I realized this, like this was a massive breakthrough, that I needed to be taking a lot more action. And so I started putting a lot of different things into place that helped me take action. I did a lot of very specific, in-depth, creative visioning, so a lot of visualizations, and I got very clear on what I needed to do. And then that's when I created my 6-month creativity development plan, where I just started to smash it. I knew what I needed to do, but I focused on taking daily action. That is enormous, right? So, and then when you're taking lots of action, you'll start to see lots of results. You'll start to see that painting. That painting will naturally, as a byproduct of simply taking consistent action, you'll end up with that finished painting. Same if you're writing a book. If you consistently write words down on your computer or typewriter or by hand, whatever, you will end up with a book, right? So it's about taking action, and it's not about being super critical of those actions and those outcomes, especially in the beginning of cultivating this habit of taking action. So I spoke about habits in another video, but developing the habit of taking action is more important, especially in the early stages, than the quality of those actions. You can refine that over time, but developing that habit is the most important thing you can do. Okay, so now let's go to the next level of what this, how this really works. Okay, I'm going to grab another colored texter. All right, got my coloring textures here. Okay, so I'm going to go some orange. So now, okay, so if you have currently in your brain between here and here, if you have any type of negative concept or belief or association to do with your creative practice, art in general, being an artist, or yourself personally, what you believe you're capable of, if you have limiting beliefs around any of that stuff, okay, so we'll start here. So if you have limiting beliefs around that, that is going to lead you to feelings of maybe insecurity, doubt, fear, things like this, right? So that will lead you to negative types of feelings that will end up leading you to the types of actions that are usually really stunted actions, half-baked ideas, very safe, creative options. And that leads to a result down here that you're probably not very happy with. And it's potentially not pushing boundaries, or it's not very exciting, right? It's very safe kind of concept. So what that does is it draws this line back here to thoughts. So it starts to reinforce these negative concepts because you have that result, and just say it's a painting and it doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out, or you're not happy with it, you don't think it's an exciting piece of work, that reinforces this negative concept. So you start to go, oh, see, I'm not even very good at this. That time that person said to me, you're never going to make it as a painter, they're actually right. And the doubt starts to set in, right? So that thought leads to even worse feelings, which leads to even worse action or no action, which leads to a worse result. And then you end up down here and you end up quitting. So that's the point often when that cycle continues for a while, when people decide to give up and then just say, oh, I can't do this, and I'm not good enough to do this, and it's not as good as Picasso, and my mum was right, or my dad was right when he said I would never make any money doing this, and blah blah blah. So all this internal dialogue just goes on and drags you down. And then people give up and they say, okay, this just isn't for me. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. And they give up on something that deep down actually brings them a lot of joy and that they're drawn to doing. And that's a sad moment. So I'm in the business of people keeping people away from that. So this is where I want to get people. So this is the exciting news. So thoughts lead to feelings. So if you cultivate positive concepts, beliefs, associations around creative work, like these types of thoughts, if you believe that being an artist is a really great thing, if you believe it's a contribution to the world, that you're actually using your talents and your gifts to express yourself and express to others, how the world works and what's happening. And if you believe that is a contribution, then imagine the feelings that go on from that type of thinking, right? So the feelings are more of a mission and contribution, deeper feeling of connection, feeling of confidence when you approach your work. So these types of feelings lead to actions where you're willing to take risks. You're willing to be judged and not let it affect you. So type of actions, a lot more action, very much more prolific, right? And what happens when you take a lot of action? You end up seeing better results. You know, just through the practice of taking lots of action, your skills improve and you start to see better results. And then when you start to see better results, when you start to see that your creative work is really, building your skills and you're communicating better through your art, that result is such a fulfilling feeling and a feeling of connection to your creative work, that what happens is that reinforces, that comes back here and it tells you, hey, you know what, that painting was actually really good and you got some great feedback. I think you can do better than that. Let's do some more work. And then the feeling and the contribution, then the action gets better. There's more practice, the results get better. And that continues to feed on itself in a really positive loop, which gives you more confidence, fearlessness as an artist. You're willing to take even more risks and do more exciting types of projects, do interesting work, get that out into the world. And that's how you develop a career. That's how you develop a reputation for being a fearless, interesting, prolific artist, right? So that is my role. My role is to get people from there, drag them up from there, and take them up onto this journey. That's really what creativity mindset mastery is all about. It's turning that mindset. So now let me add one more piece to this puzzle. So it's at the very beginning here. Creativity mindset. So what you'll notice about this chain of events is it's a one-way system, right? So it all stems from here. This river just flows this way, and the result is always a consequence of the quality of what's happening up here, right? So if you have negative thoughts and feelings, you're going to go downhill. If you cultivate positive thoughts and feelings, you end up going on this journey naturally. The result is simply a consequence of what's happening back here. So you go right back to the roots. So the creativity mindset, my explanation of that and my definition of that is really, these are the subconscious thoughts, beliefs, concepts, associations, incidences, modeling of, copying people that are in your vicinity, and things that you heard and saw as you've been growing up from when you were born until this very day. So if at some stage you got the concept in your mind that to be an artist, you have to be crazy, chaotic, a drunk, drug addict who has an addled mind, then the way this works is that if that's your concept and you believe that to be a negative thing, you will never take action towards becoming an artist, because it would make no sense to take action towards something that you deeply believe is a negative thing, right? But if your concept, your beliefs, your associations, the story that's in your head about being an artist is very different, if that story says to be an artist means it is the highest form of expression as a human being, where I can communicate my deepest essence to the world and do this in a beautiful way that communicates to people the value of life, blah, 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 right? So if there's a totally different story in place there and you deeply believe it, that's another part of this, is that you have to deeply believe this. And I have ways of getting people to that place, of processing to that place. Then the actions you take are completely different. You'll start taking many more actions towards something you believe is positive for the world and is of service and contribution to the world, or even just to yourself. So I think you're getting the way this works, right? I don't want to labor the point too much, but I do want to explain it thoroughly enough so that you get excited about it and say, okay, cool. I get this. I know where I'm going wrong. I need to work out, what my subconscious negative beliefs around this are. I need to get rid of them so that I can go on this journey rather than on this one to Q-Town. Because I don't want you in Q-Town. If you're watching this video, the fourth in this series, you don't want to go to Q-Town. You don't want to quit. You want to have a very different journey. That's what I would guess about you at this stage. So, without dragging this video out too long, that's about as deep as I can go with creative mindset at this point. But I hope that was helpful. And one thing you can start to think about perhaps is maybe write down one or two of each of these things. What is a specific incident that may have put a negative concept in my mind about art or being an artist? What's a negative concept, something that you might have heard, so something that someone said? And what's one experience that stands out? So a specific incident that really stands out that may have impacted the way that you think about yourself or about your art. So there are 3 exercises that will start to explore this concept for you, right? It might reveal some very interesting things for you. So, that's all the creative mindset stuff. What I'd ask you to do right now, I hope you took lots of notes there and drew some kind of random picture like that. What I want you to do right now is I want you to take all that information. I want you to put it in a box in front of you, create a nice little box in front of you. I want you to tie up a nice little knot. I want you to grab it. I want you to open your head like this. And I want you to neatly place it inside, push it down, and put the lid back on and go, like, okay, I got that. So that's in your mind. You've got all that now, right? Okay. So if you think that was helpful, if you're on this call right now, if you're on this hangout, there's one thing that I know about you. I know that you're interested in learning these concepts of creative mindset, how to overcome fear, how to deal with your inner critic, how to get organized, how to take action, how to take your creative practice to the next level. So if there was a way that I could help you do those things and go into depth with this stuff, would that be something that you might be interested in? So if you're on this call, my guess is that it would be. And what I've done with this series is really I've just scratched the surface. I have got so much more to share with you and to help you with. I hope that these videos have been helpful already. So if you're interested in learning more and working with me more directly, then if you don't mind, I'm going to give you an opportunity to find out more about that now. So if that would be okay, then I'll explain how that can happen. So I'm going to do something on this hangout that is slightly outrageous, and I'm doing it only for people who are on this hangout right now. So if these things are interesting to you, then I want to make this accessible for you so that you can experience this. Okay, so what I have to offer, it's a way of going very deep with all of this content. So I spoke about inner critic, overcoming fear, creative habits, and mindset, creative mindset. So what I have developed is a weekend workshop and also an evening. So it's a Friday evening and a full weekend where I go into depth. I go very deep with this stuff, full immersion for a weekend to create massive change in your creative practice in one weekend. So I basically boil down the 23 years of experience of being a musician and the last 2 years that I've spent researching all of this stuff, how to have a really powerful creative practice, and the $30,000 I've spent learning this material. So I've gone out into the world. I've traveled overseas to understand these topics and this mindset, overcoming fear, and I've spent about $30,000 learning this stuff, and I've condensed it in this 5-step system that I teach over an intensive weekend so that you get all of this stuff in one weekend so that you can save 20 years of your life doing this by trial and error. You can get it all in one weekend. So the system that I go through, step 1 is excavating and dissolving your negative concepts, associations around creativity. So I have a number of specific questions that I ask to help to get into your subconscious mind, and a number of processes that get into your subconscious mind. It goes in very deep to get access to this stuff, bring it to the surface, and then we dissolve those subconscious things that are holding you back right now. So that's number 1. Number 2, I give you all the tools you need, more than enough tools you need to master your inner critic for the rest of your life. So once you have these tools, I give you more than 20 different tools, techniques, and methods to deal with your inner critic once and for all. It's sorted. Wouldn't that be nice? Whew. Yeah, it is nice. It's an amazing thing to have as part of your arsenal. So number 3 is I help you get crystal clarity around your creative practice and your creative vision. So we go into deeper purpose and creating a clear vision, big picture vision of your creative practice. And then we drill that down into a really specific and clear 6-month step-by-step action plan that once you leave the workshop, the path is laid out in front of you. There's no more guesswork. There's no more like, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? Or maybe I need to do this and a bit of that. It's so thorough. The creative visioning that we do becomes so clear and thorough that you have a really clear plan that you walk out of the workshop with. This is the way that I created my 6-month creativity development plan that made me write more than 40 songs, do 20 paintings, write 20 short stories. I wrote a book. I did a daily practice of reading, writing, reviewing music, and singing, and also did over 200 illustrations in this 6-month period. It was the most prolific 6 months ever. And the way that I did that, I'm going to share all of that method, that process with you in this weekend workshop so you can get really clear. This is one of the biggest things that I find with creatives is they are not clear. If you have really fuzzy goals and visions, you'll take really fuzzy, lame action and you'll get really fuzzy, lame results. That's just kind of how it works. So clarity is absolute king and queen to being really productive and prolific. So I'm going to share all of that stuff with you. The next thing is how to stay on track. So it's one thing having a plan, and I'm sure you've created a plan in the past, but sticking to the plan is a whole other ball game. And so I've spent, like I said, a lot of time and a lot of money finding out how to do that, how to come up with a plan that you're passionate about sticking to, but this section 4 of the workshop, is about really practical tools and implementation of how you keep yourself accountable, how you take action, how you do it with passion and energy. So this is one part of the creative world that very few people teach, because very few people even know how to do this. So I get really excited about sharing that content with people, because it's one of the real missing keys in really having a kick-ass creative practice. So then part 5 is, once you have a plan and you have a system of taking action, there's really only one thing that might hold you back, and that is overcoming fear. So it can be one of the biggest resistances for creative people is fear of what people might think, fear of success, fear of failure. So I make a really huge priority, as this is part of this workshop, to make sure you overcome your fear and start moving towards being a fearless artist. So if you imagine for a moment what type of creative work you would do if you were a fearless artist, like if you really didn't care what anyone thought about you, if you didn't have these limiting beliefs and you were a fearless artist, even just take a moment and right now to imagine what your next project might be if that was the case. So that's the really exciting part of the workshop. I've got a bunch of processes and ways of understanding fear, technical understanding, but also the experiential understanding. So the difference between me hanging out with you on a hangout and sharing information is much of it is intellectual and it's theory, but I always include a practical element because basically the way this works is the way that you can create transformation in your life is very rarely from sitting down and reading a book or watching lots of TED Talks or scouring the internet for information, because you only ever retain about 5 to 10% of that information at best. Even watching videos, it's still not totally immersive. So the more you move up the scale of taking action yourself, so simulating an action or an idea is very good, but doing it yourself, nothing beats that for learning and integration, transformation, and change. Nothing beats that. You would know this, right? So if you were a piano player, you could read a million books on playing piano, but if your fingers never touch the keys, you would never be able to actually play, right? It's all up here. So as I mentioned before, taking action is it is the bee's knees. It is where the rubber hits the road and where things really start to take off. So I make the weekend workshop really immersive and experiential so that you actually ingrain it into the cells of your body and deeply into your psychology. So the weekend workshop, it's a deep operation. It is a deep transformation that occurs. And I love running this workshop because when people come in on the Friday evening and the Sunday evening, they're totally different people. They go out into the world fearless, ready, armed with a plan, and they've got me holding their hand as they progress into their creative practice, and there are enormous results. I can send you links of testimonials, but and I'll do that because you don't have to believe me, but people come out the other side and they hit the road running and do amazing creative work, stuff that never would have gotten done, if I'm quite honest with you and them and myself. So it's a really exciting, amazing freaking course. So that's what's on offer. So now what I want to do is tell you what else I can do to help you make a decision about whether you want to come. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, if dealing with your inner critic, getting rid of blocks in your mind, having a clear plan, learning how to stay on track, and overcoming fear. If these things you feel would be helpful to you in your creative practice, and then they would, unleash a lot of creative energy and excitement, then the offer is to come to the weekend workshop. So there's going to be details lower on this page, but just for now, if you want to stay with this video with me explaining it, that'd be the best. So the way that I'm offering this, and this is really very limited, only to 5 people. So the first 5 people that decide to take me up on this offer will get this offer, and that's it. I can't extend it anymore because I've already sold places in the workshop. There are only 5 left before this is totally full, and I maintain a small, intimate group of people so that I can work with people directly. So if you decide to come, I will be able to work with you directly with anything that's going on for you and take you to the next level. So the deal is that, and this is a special price for this webinar series only, is that the ticket to the course is $497. So I'm going to write some of this down for you. So it's $497, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, I have done this. So I've spent 2 years intensely learning this stuff, but also integrating this stuff. So everything that I teach at the course, I have done myself. It's been tried and tested, and I would never teach anything that I have not implemented myself. So one thing to remember is this is not theory. This is my experience. This is an experience of someone who's been through this and it's worked. I've taught others and it works for them. It's a system that works. So I spent 2 years doing that, and I've spent over $30,000 on this information, learning this information. I've just come back from a course this weekend valued at $4,000. It went for 3 days to glean this information, to learn more and more stuff on this topic so that I can teach other creatives. So I just invested $4,000 in a course that went for 3 days, right? Because I believe this information is vital and important. So they're the kind of figures to keep in your mind as to maybe the value of this information. Because it's very difficult to put a value on this kind of stuff, especially if you're a creative. Like, how do you put a value on dealing with your inner critic? Like, if this was a financial thing, like if I said, hey, if you invest $10,000 with me, I will change your business and you'll make $100,000 in the next 6 months. Then it's a no-brainer, right? You're like, oh, of course, I'll do that. When it comes to creative stuff, it's very difficult to quantify the value of your inner critic. But let me ask you these questions. So if the only thing that this course did for you, if the only thing this workshop did for you was it helped you master your inner critic. So just imagine for a moment that you had tools to master your inner critic. How much would that impact your creative practice and your creative output? And what would that be worth to you if someone could just like plug you in via a USB thing and download this new software that sorted out the inner critic and you never had to deal with it again? How much would you pay someone for that? Like, what is the effect and the value in your life? It's a very difficult question to answer. I totally admit that. But for me, the number is huge. Like, if someone told me they could do that for me, I would just be like, cool, you can have my firstborn. No worries. Just like, let's just sort this out, because this is going to help me enormously and bring me a lot of joy and pleasure. So that's one of them. What would it be worth to you if I could tell you that I'm going to help you excavate and dissolve your creative blocks and the things that are holding you back. And if the only thing this course did for you was it gave you a really clear vision of the things you needed to do for the next 6 months and up to the next 5 years, we do a really clear visualization of the next 5 years. What would that be worth to you? If the only thing it did for you was it dissolved your fear, all of your fear around creative practice, what would that be worth to you? If someone could just tell you, hey, I'm going to click my fingers and your fear is going to be gone around your creative practice, what would that be worth to you, and what's the impact of that on your life? So as you can see, this, I mean, you can see I get passionate about this because this material literally changed my life. It changed my life from having a creative practice that I struggled in, that I felt so unfulfilled in, that I was frustrated. I would talk myself down about it, you know, like I wasn't doing enough and that I was lame as an artist, and maybe I wasn't even an artist, because if I was an artist, I would just be doing it. And it literally changed my life. It had an enormous impact. So this information, the reason I went and spent $30,000, more than that, is because I understood for me what the value of this was, what it meant for my quality of life, for my experience going through life. And so that's the only way I can try and kind of explain to you the value of it, right? So you can take that for what you will, right? So like I said, I'm offering that ridiculous amount of value for $497. It's a drop in the bucket. It is such a small investment for something that will have an enormous impact on your life. Okay, so that's all I can say there. Okay, so what I'm doing, this is where we start to get nice and funky. So because you're on this Hangout, I'm going to do something pretty awesome. I'm going to take $100 off the price, right? So this is for the first 5 people that decide to sign up. $397 for this ridiculous course, right? It's $200 a day, really. And if you've seen prices of other courses, you'll know it's really very cheap. Like I said, I was just at a workshop with a value of $4,000. So that was like over $2,000 per day for those 2 days. Or for the 3 days, it's like 1,000 something, 500, something like that. Okay, so that's pretty cool, right? The next thing is where Ken Bruce goes completely mad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you invite to the creativity. It's called a Creativity Roundtable. This is something that people only get access to once they have done the course. And it is like a mastermind networking group. And this thing's really powerful. Basically, we get together as graduates of this course and we workshop things. We hang out together. We do show and tell so everyone knows where they're at with their art practice. And we do a networking thing where we work out how we can all help each other. This thing is it's incredible what things come out of these kind of networking things, where people will literally be able to pass people on to an opportunity that will either make them lots of money or it will start to help them really develop in their creative practice. I've put a price of $297 for that, but you can't even buy your way into it, and it's actually invaluable. But that's kind of what I'm putting down, you know, the value of this thing. So the other thing is that for the first 5 people, I'm going to slash another $150 off the price. So basically, the workshop becomes half price, $247. Are you getting pretty excited just yet? if I were you, I would be crapping my pants. So there's that. And then there's one more thing. Okay. So one more thing is you get a one-on-one private session with me for an hour where we go into detail, into depth after the course as to anything that there are any loose ends. And I give you specific feedback on exactly what you need to do to take your creative practice through the roof. This, I offer a coaching program, but I don't offer it to anyone who has not already done the course. So you can't really get access to me in this way unless you've done the course. And I'm just going to give you one deep dive with me for free. You're going to get that as part of this thing, right? So let me be extremely ridiculous here and explain all of this again. So this course is worth, the value of this course is at least $30,000, if not more. This is the price that I have on the website, and that's what you would pay if you weren't on this Hangout. I took $100 off it to raise your blood pressure slightly, and then all of this stuff. So this all adds up. The value of what I'm offering here, it adds up to be about $1,091, if I'm not mistaken. And you can get it $247, less than $250. It's like $125 a day for this workshop where we dissolve your creative blocks, give you a plan. I teach you how to handle your inner critic. I teach you tools on how to stay on track with your creative practice and start kicking goals and overcome fear. And that fear, it's not just around your creative practice, that will ripple throughout your entire life, how to deal with fear, any fearful situation. So you can have access to all of that for $247 if you're one of the first 5 to take action. And it can only be the first 5 because that's all I've got space for. So what I would say to you right now, this is the moment to take action. On this thing here, this thing here, if you take action, this is the first action you need to take to start going on this journey so that I can take you from this potential outcome into this destiny. So if you think about the 2 destinies that await you in the future right now, there's one where potentially you struggle to work this out on your own, like I did for 15 years before I reached out for help and acknowledged that, you know what, maybe I can just learn this stuff from someone who's done it. So, you know, you can spend the time and money. You might end up spending 2 years and $30,000 the way I did. Or you can learn from someone who's already made that investment and who's already done it, who knows how to do it, who can just teach you how to do it. And either way you decide to go, if it's something you want, if a part of you wants that, then you're going to pay for it either way. So you either pay, you know, this ridiculously small investment, or you pay through time and money. It's they're the only 2 ways of really getting there yourself. So you know, if I were you, I know what I would do. I think that's about it. I guess the last thing I would say is that you know, every single day and every single moment we make decisions, and that decision will either take us closer towards our ideal vision, or it takes us further away. And these moments, we're making these decisions all day, every day, these small decisions. I know this is not a small decision to make. I totally acknowledge that. But what I've tried to do here is really make this a total no-brainer for you. That if you want this stuff, if you're interested and a part of you wants this, this is an absolute no-brainer where you can just, invest a small amount in yourself and your creative practice and start just rocking your creative world and living the creative life that you, potentially you've always wanted to. So the offer is there. I'm here to help you. If you decide to do it, I look forward to working with you, and it's going to be freaking awesome. I'm really looking forward to this workshop that's coming up. All the details are below. What I would suggest you do is take action right now. So there's a really great Chinese proverb, which is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right? So why wait? If you feel like you need to wait for some reason, I would ask you why. Why would you need to wait to create this transformation in your life? So you can wait another 6 months, but I can tell you that probably not much is going to happen in 6 months for you in regards to this stuff. This knowledge, it is very specialized and it's very hard to come by, and it's even harder to come by taught by a creative person for creative people. What I've done is I've synthesized a lot of stuff that comes from many different fields and professions and whatever, and I've repackaged all of this random information into a system that works for creative people. So I'm going to leave it right there because you can lead a horse to water, but I'm not going to make you drink anything. So if it's something you're interested in and a part of you wants it, say yes to yourself. Say yes to your creative future, and be open and allow me to help you. That's would be my last bit of advice. So I hope you've enjoyed these free sessions. You rock. At some point, I'd be very happy to meet you and work with you and help you with this stuff. If you decide to do this, awesome. I'm going to meet you really soon. If you decide for whatever reason this just isn't right for you, then that is totally fine. I hope you've enjoyed this content and you get something out of it, and maybe share it with someone that that you believe would get benefit out of this and that would enjoy this. And I'm only interested in people who want to come and do this. So I'm not tricking you into doing anything. If you want to do this, then just, say yes to yourself and do it and invest in yourself. All right, cool. Thanks so much. Spread the joy, spread the love. And thanks a lot for spending time with me. Look forward to seeing you soon. Your art matters, so go and create.